7 months ago, 200 kilometers southwest of Guam, a remote probe descended past the point where sunlight dies. It descended past the depth where whale bones dissolve. It kept descending. At 11,000 meters down, nearly 4 kilometers deeper than Mount Everest is tall, it found something moving, something that had never been documented, something that shouldn't be able to survive where there is only pressure, darkness, and cold that would stop your heart before your lungs could register it. And it wasn't alone. Right now, at this moment, sitting in your living room at sea level, you are under one atmosphere of pressure. The air around you is pressing inward with a weight you've never felt because you've never known anything else. But imagine this, take that pressure, multiply it by 100. Now imagine your chest, your eardrums, your eyes, every cell in your body experiencing that weight from all sides simultaneously. That is not metaphor. That is the lived reality of everything that exists in the Challenger Deep. That is the membrane between the world you know and a world that operates under rules so different they might as well be alien. You cannot go there. Your body would rupture from the inside out in the time it takes to say these words. But something lives there anyway, and we just saw it. The discovery happened in April. A collaborative mission between 3 research institutions, names you'll never hear because discovery in the deep doesn't have celebrity, sent an unmanned submersible to depths where previous expeditions had found only bacterial mats and scattered amphipods. What they recorded was a creature that moves like something caught between states of matter. Slow, deliberate, adapted so completely to pressure that if you brought it to the surface, even just a few hundred meters up, its cells would rupture. The pressure that holds it together would release and it would come apart from the inside. This is not theory. This is vertebrate anatomy reimagined by 100 atmospheres of pressure. For comparison, the deepest place a human has ever been outside of a sealed vessel is 332 meters. That was in 1988. A human body at that depth experiences pressure so extreme that the gas in the lungs becomes liquid. Nitrogen narcosis distorts cognition. Decompression sickness kills on ascent. Now understand that 332 meters is to 11,000 meters what a puddle is to the Pacific. The creatures we found don't live 33 times deeper than humans can dive. They live in a world 33 times more extreme, and they were reproducing. They were juveniles. They were feeding marks on the substrate. This is not a single organism trapped in an ancient trench. This is an ecosystem that has learned to thrive where everything we know about biology says thriving should be impossible. The specific mechanics of survival still escape us. What we know, the creature's protein structures are different. The enzymatic pathways that drive its metabolism are unconfirmed. Its osmorgulation, the system that controls water and salt balance in cells, appears to be entirely novel. But the part that keeps researchers awake is this. The creature is not a primitive organism. It's not a bacterial colony or a single-celled extremophile adapted to survive at the margins of chemistry. It's a complex animal. It has eyes, vestigial, yes, but structured. It has what appears to be a sensory organ along its flank that we don't have a name for yet. And it moves with intention in a place where intention requires energy we thought couldn't be generated under that pressure. We are missing something fundamental about how life works. The standard narrative about the deep ocean is that it's a dead zone, a pressure-locked tomb where only the simplest organisms persist. Chemistry persists, some bacteria, nothing that looks like what we call life. But that narrative was built by visiting for minutes and leaving. It was built by bringing creatures up to surface pressure where their cells exploded and then being surprised they didn't survive. We were collapsing the very thing we were trying to study. The truth is darker. The truth is that entire kingdoms of life have evolved in the deep. They've evolved pressure resistance we can barely model. They've evolved metabolisms that work on chemical gradients we are still learning to measure. And most of them we've never seen. Most of them we don't even know to look for. Here is the specific moment this changes everything. The creature we recovered in April is not adapted to the deep ocean. It's not a refugee from shallower waters. The genetic markers, the preliminary sequencing, all of it points to adaptation that occurred over millions of years at maximum depth. This means the deep has been continuously evolving life for longer than we've been looking. While we were mapping the surface, while we were believing the deep was sterile, life down there was conducting its own evolution experiment. Life was doing what life does, finding the edges of possible and pushing, and we never even knew. The organism itself is approximately 30 centimeters long, with a body plan that splits difference between eel and squid. Its locomotion is a series of membrane undulations that move so slowly they're almost invisible to real-time observation. But in the high-speed data, slowed from the footage, you see it. A creature that moves like it's swimming through something heavier than water, which it is. It's swimming through pressure, it's moving through weight, and that's not distortion, that's adaptation. Every anatomical feature we can identify exists specifically to function under compression. Thicker cell walls, smaller body cavity relative to muscle mass, a skeletal structure that's denser than anything we've seen. This is not random, this is architecture. The deep designed this thing, but here's what troubles the researchers most, there were more. The probe recorded at least 3 separate species in the same trench segment. 3 distinct body plans, 3 separate approaches to solving the problem of existing at 11,000 meters down, which means we're not looking at a single adaptation story. We're looking at an entire radiation event, an explosion of speciation driven by pressure itself. The deep ocean doesn't just shelter life, it shapes it, it forces it. And the results don't look like anything on the surface because they were never meant to. Consider what this means for the history of life on Earth. We've been thinking of the ocean as a 3-dimensional space, but we've only studied the top 200 meters with any consistency. The absolute maximum depth of standard scuba diving. Everything below that 95% of the ocean's volume we've treated as peripheral, dead space. But what if the deep is not dead space? What if it's a separate biosphere, a world as rich and strange and evolutionarily distinct as anything we found on land? What if there are millions of species down there that we've never catalogued, operating under entirely different rules, living lives that have nothing to do with the rhythms of the surface world? We were searching for extraterrestrial life in the stars when we had an alien ocean here all along. We just weren't brave enough to look into the dark. The reason this matters right now in 2026, with the lights on everywhere, with the map complete, with the illusion that we know the world's secrets, is this: we don't. The world still hides rooms. The world still has doors we haven't walked through. There are still places so deep, so pressurized, so hostile to the way we think life should work that life found entirely different ways to exist, and we're only now beginning to see. Each creature we bring up, each sample we analyze, each genetic sequence we decode, it's not filling in blanks on a known map. It's revealing that the map is almost entirely blank, that everything we thought was discovered was just the surface of discovery, that the real world, the full world, is vastly stranger and more alive than we allowed ourselves to imagine. So the question isn't, what is this creature? The question is, how many others are down there? How many ecosystems are operating in the spaces we decided were empty? How many forms of life have evolved in the dark, under pressure, in the cold, completely independent of everything we know? And what happens when we finally understand that life doesn't need our conditions to thrive? It just needs pressure, it just needs time, it just needs to be left alone in the dark long enough to become something entirely its own. Right now, 4 kilometers below you, in a place where the pressure would rupture your cells in seconds, something is moving, something is eating, something is reproducing, something is alive in a way we're only beginning to understand. And it's been there the whole time, we just finally looked.